Rav YCD, okay. We're up to Yerushalmi Yoma. We are on Kol Zayin Amud Aleph, okay? Shnei Seirei Yom HaKippurim, Sheshachtam B'chutz. So you have two goats of Yom Kippur, and you shechted them outside the Azara before the lottery has taken place. Now, Shchitas Chutz is a serious problem. Is Tanei Taneh. Now, Shchitas Chutz is a problem on a goat which should have been rotted to be a korban inside, and you went and slaughtered it outside. Now, what about these two goats? Now, what they were fitting, that one will end up being Hashem, one will end up being Azazel. So, Shnei Seirei Yom Kippurim Sheshachtam B'chutz. Is to know Tani. So there is a brayso in which they learn Chayev. You're Chayev for Shchitas Kachim B'chutz. You're slaughtering Kachim outside the Azara, which is wrong. There is to know Tani, and some say Potor. No, you are Potor. Now, Amruch is the Mandam El Chayev. The one who says you're Chayev is where we're talking about you've not yet done B'Shaloi Karav Hasoeh Hanaseh B'chutz. You've not yet brought. Now, there's another Soeh of the Musaf, the Soeh Chatas of the Musaf Yom Kippur. Right? If you've not yet brought that, that's done in the Azara, that one, and you've not yet brought it. Now, each one of these two, before the lottery, could have been brought for that chatas, which is done in the Azara. Therefore, if you slaughter it outside, before the lottery, you're chayav for shchutei chutz, because you've slaughtered a sire which could have been the musaf sire, and you've gone and slaughtered it outside. So that's why the one that Tanu says you're chayav. Mandam Apotel, the one who says you're Potel, we're talking about a case where Shekarav has Sa'ir Nasbachos. You have already brought the Sa'ir Musaf of Yom Kippur. Now, both these two remaining goats are there for Hagrola. They need this lottery taking place. They're not fitting to be the Sa'ir Musafin. They can't be the Musaf. We've already brought the Musaf. Therefore, you're not chayav for shchutei chutz, because these are not fitting as a korban at this moment in time. These are fitting for a lottery, and that's it. Now, Rav YCD pushes away what Rav Chisda said, that you're chayav before the lottery because of shchutei chutz, because they're roi to be a musaf. Rav YCD, Rav Chisda boy medam say the Pesach. So Rav Chisda, right? Rav Chisda was the one who said you are the one who says chayav, but you not yet brought the musaf. So he says, why is that? Because he wants to compare it to the din of the two goats Yom Kippur to korban Pesach the rest of the year, right? Not the 14th of Nisan, but the rest of the year. And you shechted it b'chutz. Now Pesach, the rest of the year, you shechted it b'chutz. You're chayav for shchutei chutz. Why? Because it could have been brought as a shlamim, right? It's fitting to be brought as a shlamim, and that's why you're chayav when you shechted it outside. So the same thing with these two goats of Yom Kippur. You shechted them before the lottery. Why you're chayav for shchutei chutz? They are fitting to be the sire of the musaf. They are both fitting to be brought for the sire of the musaf. And we're talking about a case where you've not yet brought the sire of the musaf, right? But the truth is, the comparison of the two goats of Yom Kippur to the din of Korban Pesach is not the same. They both said, Pesach she'iva zmanai. They said, look, if you've gone past Pesach, it's gone past the 14th of Nisan, and you've got Korban Pesach in your hands, what happens to it? It would change and become a shlamim. Even before it's shchita, it's considered a shlamim. It's fitting to be a korban. So you're chayav by shechting it outside, because a korban Pesach becomes automatically a shlamim. But here, these two goats, look, when does it become a musaf? Not yet. It's b'shchita hu mishtaneh. It's when you slaughter it for a musaf, it becomes a sayer, which is done lifnim, which is for korban musaf. Before you shecht it, it's not considered a musaf. So you can't be chayav for shchutei chutz, because before you slaughter it, it's not considered a musaf at all. So Rav YCD pushes away the answer of Rav Chisda for the steer between the brises. Now another way where the brises are learning, Maikadun. So what are we going to do? Where are the brises arguing? The one who says you're chayav for the goats outside, Sovereign Meima, they wanted to say Hagrala Edom Kavis. They wanted to say, look, maybe they hold the lottery doesn't really matter. And since the sire is fitting for the inner chatos, the chatos penimis, that's one of the sire Lashem. The sire could be the sire Lashem. The agrala doesn't matter even before lottery. Therefore, you're chayav for shchutei chutz. And Mandam Apotel, the one who says you're Apotel on the shchita of the seirim, the goats outside. So remember, you can hold hagrala ma keves. The lottery is essential. And since before the hagrala the Sa'ir is not fitting for Hakrava like the inner Chatas, therefore you're not chayav for Shchutei Chutz. So it depends, it's like this. Is the Hagrola essential or not? If the lottery doesn't matter, then one of these goats you're shechting outside could be the Tzol Hashem. And that's why you're chayav for Shchutei Chutz. And the other one said you're patur, because the Hagrola is essential. You can't have a Lashem unless you bring your lottery first. Now then the Gemara asks, Klum yesh kan Lashem ela echad. Now wait a minute. Out of these two goats, only one of them could possibly be the Lashem one. Only one of them. The Bryce is mashma yochayev on the two goats for Shchutei Chutz. So Amar Shmuel Achoyder Berechia, he says the kavanah of the Bryce is yochayev oizeh oizeh. The kavanah of the Bryce is yochayev oizeh oizeh, either one or the other. You'll be chayev one, whichever one might end up being the Lashem. One of them could be the Lashem, but not both of them. Now then we bring a sefer of the Bryce, but if you shechted the goats mishehigril. Now, if you've shechted these goats outside after the lottery has taken place, and we know which one is Lashem, and we know which one is Lazazel, then chayev al shel Shem, you're chayev on the goat shel Shem, which is fitting to be brought inside, or patur al shel Azazel, you're not going to be chayev on the Azazel one, that's not fitting to be brought inside. Okay, so the end of the brisa, you've taken these two goats, you've done the lottery now, so we know which one is which. You take them outside. Right, you're shechting it outside. So the Lashem one should have been inside. You shechted it outside, you're chayav for that. The Lazazel, which is going to go on the journey, you're not chayav for shechting that. Now, the din is, we're saying the Hagrola, you're chayav on the soil Lashem because of Shchutei Chutz. Amrabah, but who? Now this is right, providing Shanasan Matnas Pa, that you've already done the blood applications of the previous animal, the Pa, in the Holy of Holies. If not yet, if you haven't yet put the blood of the Pa on the Kodesh Kedoshim, your patur sheshchitase shel saeh ma'akeves matan dama shel Pa. If you've not yet done the blood of the previous carbon, then the shchita, you can't do the shchita of the goat yet. It's too premature. You still need to do the blood applications of the Pa. So therefore, it's not considered valid shchita. If you shech this saeh now, but you've not yet done the blood application of the Pa, then you've done nothing. Then there's a shchita psula, so you wouldn't be chayav if you shecht it outside because it's not valid shchita yet. Rabban Bachia, by Kum Reb Zira, he asked in front of Zira, if the Kohen Gadol shachat is a Pa, if he shechted the Pa of Yom Kippur ad shelo yagril, before you've done the goyrel, so the Pa, and you went and shechted it outside before the lottery of the goats, ma'al she'eh chayav. Are you chayav for the shchita for Shchutei Chutz? Now, is the Pa fitting to be brought b'fnim before you do the lottery on the goats? Because remember, you do the lottery on the goats, and then you take the blood of the Pa and take it inside. So here you've gone and shechted the Pa outside before the lottery. Is that too premature or not? Amalei said, Lishmina min hada, we learn from the following, Pa ma'akev es hasair, if you do one of the avodas of the goat, before the Pa, which you should have done before, then that's essential. It wasn't done right. Before the Avodah Soya, it would passel. But ein hasayeh ma'akev sapah. If you did one of the avodas of the Pa later, after the Soya, which you should have done first, then the Soya, which was done out of order, is not ma'akev the avodah of the Pa, and the Pa is kosher. So in the end part of the brisa, the avodah of the Soya, which is done early, does not affect the avodah of the Pa, which comes later. And the avodah of the Pa is still kosher. And which avodah of the goat, which you should do before the avodah of the Pa? What we talk about is talking about the lottery. You should do that before you shech the Pa. So it comes out from the brisa, if you shech the Pa before you do the lottery on the goats, the shechita of the Pa is kashera. Ada Amra, from this it tells me that shachet es hapa, if you did shech the Pa of Yom Kippur outside the Beis Hamikdash, ad shelo higril, even though you've not yet done the lottery on the goats, chayiv, you are chayiv for Shchutei Chutz, because the Pa was fitting to be brought inside even before the lottery has taken place. In Tema, if you're going to tell me that you shecht your patur for Shchutei Chutz, because that Pa was not fitting to be brought before the lottery, then this day the Brisa should have said, Hasai ma'akev is the Pa, the goat is essential for the Pa. That if you did one of the avodas of the Pa, later ones, to the avodas of Hasai, which is the lottery on the goats, the avodas Hasai, which is not done right, would be ma'akev the avodas of the Pa, would passel it. So we didn't say that. So that's what you see, that if you've done the lottery, you've not yet done the lottery, but you shechted the Pa, it is a valid shchita. Okay? Amar Shmuel bar Avdimi, Adada Tema. Now the Brisa says, Eina Soy Ma'akev Sapah. If you did one of the avodas of the par later to the avodah of the soy, which you should have done before, the avodah of par is kosher. Now that's only b'matnas habadim. That's only if you're going upstairs. Can you take the other door, please? That's only b'matnas habadim. That's only with the matan dama par between the badei aron and the kodesh kadoshim. Right? That's when is the soy ma'akev sapar? That's only b'matnas habadim. That's as far as the blood applications between the Aron, right, in the Kodesh Kadoshim. Remember, between the two poles of the Aron, that's what we're talking about. But however, the sprinklings of the Dama Pan, the Heichal, in front of the Paroiches, So'im Ma'akev Sapah. Then the work of the So'im, which is done out of order, before Avodah Sapah, is essential and would be Ma'akev, the Avodah of the Par, and would passelate. So that, what I say, if you did the blood applications on the parochas, you have to do the sa'iv first. Yeah, you have to do that blood stuff of the sa'iv inside before you do the par outside. Remember, there's blood applications in the aron, next to the aron, and there's blood applications between. Can you go the other way around, please?
The door's broken.
The door's broken. All right. Ava matanas haparoiches. Well, the front door doesn't work. Oh no. Cool. If, however, the sprinkling of the blood of the par and the heichal, right, for that, so ma'akev zapar. And heichal was the case. You cannot put the blood of the par on the paroches until you first put the blood of the goat on the ben abadim in the kodesh kadosh. So you have to deal with the blood of the sire inside before you put the blood of the par outside. Okay, let's carry on. Halacha beis. Kasha Haloshon shel zahiris. So you have a strap of wool, and it's dyed in red. But they tied a string on the head of the goat, which is sent to Azazel. And then you put the goat keneged beis shluchai, next to the place where we're going to take it out. So we take the goat, we stand the goat near the place where it's going to go out. But the nishchat, the one which is Lashem, right? You tie a string keneged beis shchitase, now around his neck. He comes a second time to his power. He puts his two hands on it with his vada, and he says a vidoy for himself and for his family, and he includes the sins of the other kohanim, as if there were any, Rabbi say. This is what he said. Ana Hashem, Avisi, which is bemezid, Pashati, with rebelliousness, Chaltasi, which is b'shogeg, Lefanach, Ani obeis v'ne'ah, and I'm going to shecha. Ana Hashem, Kapin, Nalavanis, etc. Forgive all the sins. There are three types of string which are used in various mitzvahs, and each one has a different shiur. Shel Sair, the Sair Mishtaleach, that string is a weight of Basela, because you've got to divide it into two before we're pushing it down the rock. So that's raise a seller. Shel Metzaira, the Tara Metzaira, the weight is Beshekel, and which is half. And Shel Para, shekel is half a seller, yeah. Shel para, which they throw into the fire of the paraduma, is shtei selaim. It's going to be heavy enough to it should fall into the depths of the burning of the para. Rabbi Baba Zavda b'shem b'shum ben Chalafta. Shel para is going to have a weight of shtei selaim or mechza. It's going to have a weight of 2.5 selaim. Here's the mafkin lishna, and some say that they change it. They say the para has to be asara zin, which is 10 zuz. Right? Some say that's the weight of how much the para has to be. In Shkalim, the gives is asara zuz. And that's 2 slime and 2.5 slime, the same thing, because the seller is 4 zuz. And 2.5 is 10 zuz. There's no real difference, but they wanted to get the wording right? They always want to try and say the right wording that they have from their teachers. Halacha Gimel, Shachta, the Kohen receives his blood, the Kibble from Israel has damai, and he receives the blood. He slaughters the par and he receives the blood, but he's not yet sprinkled this blood. He's involved in the keteres. And meanwhile, Nasna, he gives the blood to someone who's going to stir it on the 4th row of the stones there in the platform to the Heichal. We don't want the blood to set. He takes a pan, he goes to the top of the big mizbeach. He moves the outer coals to the sides, and then he scoops with his pan minal mukolos hapenuyos, from the burning coals which are more inside the fire. V'yarad, he comes down from the mizbeach, v'nicha, and he puts the pan with the coals ala rovad revi'ah sheba'azara. Again, on a fourth level, a fourth step, as it were, in the azara. It's the same rovad where someone is there mixing the blood of the par, right? It's the same platform there. Remember, there were 15 steps going up, and this is the fourth one. So he's putting the pan with the coals until he's going to take the keteres and put it in a keli with the calf, and then he'll take the pan again, and he'll take the spoon, and he'll walk with them into the Holy of Holies. Okay. Now, the Cohen who is sprinkling this blood, and the Cohen is shaking the blood at the moment, he would be on the fourth rovad in the Heichal. Now, it says in Torah, no one is allowed to be in the Ol Moed when you're doing the Avodah and the Kodesh Kodashim. So no one can be in the Heichal. So how could it be this person now is shaking this blood, is in the Heichal when the Kohen is going to the Kodesh Kodashim? So the Gemara changes it. Kinemas is this way to read it. No, on the outside of the Azara, he's on the fourth step, which is outside. The Babli changes it to a Rovad Revi'ah Shel Heichal. So it's the fourth row outside the Heichal, when you're leaving the Heichal going into the Azara. So what we mean is you're standing on the Rovad Revi'ah Shel Azara, because you are on the fourth row of the Heichal, means outside the Heichal. Okay. Tani, we learned to the Bais. If a Kohen Gadol shechted the pot outside, chayav mishur v'yiz chayav b'shchut chutz. Chafan, if he scooped out the keteres bifnim inside, then he is potter. If he did it in the Kodesh Kodashim, then he is potter. Right? He should have done it outside. Basically, he would go to the top of the mizbeach, take a pan of fire. He would go and leave the machta on the fourth step, and then he goes to Azara. He takes an empty spoon and a pan of keteres, and then he takes with his hands the fistfuls of the keteres from the pan. He puts it into a spoon, and after that he takes the machta of the coals, which we're going to come to, and the spoon, which is full of keteres. He goes to the heichal, he reaches Kodesh Kodashim, and then he puts the keteres on the coals so that the house becomes full of smoke. Okay, so if he didn't put the keteres into the pan outside Bazara, but he did it inside after he's reached the heichal, he didn't do it outside the heichal, but he did it inside the heichal. That's what we're talking about here. You're not chayav on that action. Doing the chafina, putting the keteres in the place of the heichal is not essential. It's mitzvah and amuvcha. Doing it in the azara is not essential. It's mitzvah and amuvcha. Okay, 1 second. So he should have done it. He did it bifnim after he reached the heichal. It should have been outside. Mitzvah and amuvcha to do it in the azara. Okay. Let's carry on. Chata, he takes the pan of coals of the keteres, vehikte, and he's going to bring the keteres in the Holy of Holies. V'nishbach adam. And let's say he did this. If let's say he slaughtered the par, he took the coals, he did the keteres in the Holy of Holies, v'nishbach adam, and then the blood of the par got spilled before they sprinkled from it. So the din is yavi parach. You have to bring another par and slaughter that. And he has to go into the Kodesh Kodashim with the blood of the par for the sake of sprinkling. He doesn't have to do the keteres again. However, ad shelo, if he's not yet done the keteres and nishbach adam, and then the blood got spilled on the par, chatia pasulehi, then it's considered not valid, and he has to go and take another coals and so on, everything again. Safek ad shelo nishbach adam, safek nishbach adam. What happens? We don't know. When did the blood get spilled? Was it before the keteres was done, or was it after? So lahavi parachad. So the Gemara explains what's the problem here. Now, to require him to bring a parachad, to bring another par and to slaughter it, or lakades, and to go in with the blood, bedama, without doing the keteres again, you can't do that. Shani Omer, because I say we're worried. Ad shelo hiktir nishbach adam. Maybe you did do the keteres before the blood was spilled. 1 second. Ad shelo hiktir. Sorry, no. 1 second. Let's read it again. Lahavi parachel ikanes bedama, to go and take more blood with another par without doing the keteres again. Einad yachal. Then there's a problem, because Shani Omer, we're worried. Maybe ad shelo hiktir. Maybe before you managed to do the keteres, the blood was spilled. Nishbach adam. V'yichatia pasula. Therefore, you taking the coals with pasul, and you have to do it again. You have to go and do it again with the coals after you slaughter another par, which is in place of the first one. To require you to take more coals and to bring the keteres again after you've shechted the second par, which is coming instead of the first one, again, you can't do that because Shani Omer, we're worried maybe maybe after you did the keteres, nishpach adam, the blood got spilled, and then these coals and the keteres was done properly. And by bringing keteres a second time, you're going to be over an extra time coming to Kodesh Kodashim. It's not allowed. Now, since there's no way we can work it out, are we going to just cancel everything else which has not yet been done? We've got a Bryce which says in this situation, yeah, I'm afraid you'll have to stop there. I don't mean we stop there, but you'll have to stop there. You can't do any more avodah on that day because of all these doubts here. Is he allowed to go into the Kodesh Kodashim to remove the spoon and the pan? Or maybe he has to leave them till next year, till Yom Kippur next year. The Sefer Ner has got a suffix about that. Okay. Shachat, if he slaughtered his par, or mace, and he died before he was able to go in the Kodesh Kodashim to sprinkle the blood. Now, can another Kohen Gadol, who's fulfilling his role now, taking over his role, can he go into the Kodesh Kodashim Badamo with that blood of the par that was slaughtered and sprinkle it? Or maybe the second Kohen Gadol has to shecht another par to sprinkle the blood inside. It says the Kohen Gadol Yovai la Kodesh Kodashim B'par. So what does it mean B'par? Does it mean even a second Kohen Gadol didn't shecht the par? He can come with the blood of the par, and that's considered a B'par. Or maybe it means that he can't come to the Kodesh Kodashim only B'par, which was slaughtered through him himself. Rav Shimon Lakashama, he said B'par, Avaloi B'dam. That the Kohen Gadol can't come only with the blood of a par. And the par is done through the person who came first, right? The par below badam, that he can't come to the Kodesh Kodashim when he just has the blood, and the shechit of the par was done through someone else. That's no good. Rav Chanina, Rav Yonis, and Trei Amrin, they said no. Afilu badam, even if you just have the blood, you can come to the Kodesh Kodashim even if all you have is the blood of the par, which you didn't shecht. So you got an argument about it. Instead of Shuvah Levi Amra. In the words of Shmuel Levi, we can learn that he holds that the Kohen Gadol can come afidu bedam, even with the blood of the par which was shechted by the one before. To Amar Rav Chanina, Rabbi Bar b'Shem Rav Yochanan, the Kohen Gadol can come afidu bedam, even with the blood of the par which was slaughtered by the person who came before. Now, how do we look at Rav Shmuel Levi? How do we see that he holds like this last opinion? Rav Shmuel Levi Shal. He said, we learn from Rabbi Shimon Levi that he holds that you can just rely on the blood of the one before. So where do we see this? Rabbi Shimon Levi Shal, he asked a question like this: Chafa. Let's say the Kohen Gadol took a keteres to start, and he puts it in as a spoon, and then Umeis, he dies before he's offering it in the Kodesh Kodashim. Ma'ashi Kadesh B'Chafnov. Now, what about the next Kohen who comes along, who's now appointed? Can he go in the Kodesh Kodashim with a keteres that the first Kohen Gadol was about to offer up in there? Now remember, they're not going to have the same hand sizes, right? Or maybe the Kohen Gadol needs to take a new handful to go in the Kodesh Kodashim. Why is the question b'chafnav? The question is about the handfuls you take of the keteres. A whole handful, a whole fistful, and you bring it. And maybe it's got to be the Kohen Gadol who's offering it. But if that Kohen Gadol has died, maybe the new Kohen Gadol has to do the process again. But with the blood of a par, less considered there, it does not say that he has to come to Kodesh Kodashim with his blood, but davai. And then you'd think, maybe the Kohen can come with the blood of his par, it has to be his, and not the blood of a par which was slaughtered through someone else. But the Apostle says, besides you have a par, there's no source that it needs to be his par. Therefore, Kohen Gadol shechted his par, and then he dies. Pshitale, Rav Shmuel Levi was sure the Kohen Gadol can come in afilu b'dam, even with the blood of the predecessor. Right? With the keteres, we're saying, look, it's your handful, and maybe it's no good for another Kohen to take your handful. He's got a different hand size. But as far as here, you've come with the par, with the bull. You're bringing the blood of the bull. It doesn't matter the predecessor went and slaughtered it. Okay? Halacha dalet. V'chol yom, every day, the Kohen was chayta, you take with the pan the coals for the keteres b'shel kesef, with a pan of silver. And you pour it, the coals, into one of gold. And on Yom Kippur, chayta b'shel zahav, you use a pan of gold. And with that, you would go into the Holy of Holies. V'chol yom, chayta, you would take the coals for the keteres b'shel abas kav. The size of the pan was 4 kav. When you pour it into a macht of 3 kav, this day, you only take the pan of 3, with that you would go to the Holy of Holies. Right? We don't want it to be too heavy for you, because the Kohen Gadol is hungry and he's fasting, so that's why we don't want it to be too big. So 3 kav is enough. Yeah. Okay. Let's carry on. Rabbi Yossi, usually you would take from a coals a machta of 6 kav, a ma'ara, and you pour it into 3 kav. This day you take it with a pan of shloshes kav and 3 kav, without you going. Every day the pan was heavy because the walls were thick. On this day it was light. Usually had a short handle. On this day it had a big handle. The gold was like yellowish. Today it was sort of reddish. That's the view of Reb Menachem. Okay, so we brought machlokes about the size of the pan. According to the Tanna Kama, it was 4 kav, and according to Rabbi Yossi, it was a star, which is 6 kav. Now, the Tanna Kama in our mission is called Tamad, like that which we've learned in Tamid, with the keteres every day. You poured from the pan of silver into a pan of gold, and 1 kav fell on the floor of coals, and you would sweep them away into the canal, the water canal which passed in the Azara. Over Shabbos, and on weekday, on Shabbos, where you can't do that, you put a pot of copper or something on top of it, because so you sort of cover it over. So you would always pour from a macht of 4 kav into one of 3. That's like the Tanna Kama of our Mishnah. Every day the pan was heavy. Today was light. And the reason is we don't want to tire out the Kohen Gadol. Usually had a short handle. Today was a long one. And here as well, not to tire him. Right? Okay. Not to tire him.
You can sort of handle his arm.
Yeah, with strain. Okay. Every day, the pan was short, the handle. It did not have. What's this? It didn't even have the size, the share of it, like an amma, like a short amma. Here it was like the length of an amma and a half. So your arm sort of helps you, supports you to carry the pan. Every day there was no sort of handle around the hand of the pan, some sort of bag or some sort of covering there. Here there was a pan, sort of glove area or sort of a cover area around the handle. You shouldn't burn your hands from the handle, which gets very hot from the heat of the coals. Surely it's a chatzitza between the hand of the Kohen Gadol and the pan. You would fix this lid, this cover, but masma with a nail is considered one unit with the pan. Shiva zahavim. There are 7 types of gold: zahav tar, zahav tav, zahav tar, zahav sago, zahav mufaz, zahav mezukak, zahav shachot, zahav parvayim. Okay, zahav parvayim. Bavli also mentions 7 types of gold, but the Bavli doesn't mention zahav tar and zahav mezukak. It has zahav, stam zahav, and zahav ophir, which we don't mention it. Okay, zahav type, huh?
Could we say anything? Just
different names, possibly. Zahav tar kemashmai, right? As what it means is refined. This gold, it says zahav ha'aretz ha'hitav. Amra v'yitzchak tuvu du b'baiseh. The good of a person when he's in his house. Tuvu du b'libyaseh, and it's good for a person when he goes with him on a journey. Zav tahar, shmachnisin oisel le'ur. You put it in the fire and you refine it there in fire, but Eina Chassid Klum doesn't lose anything. V'asik, and this is like that which is learned in a brisa with the menorah maaseh, but menorahs, the menorah of the base of Mikdash, Yisera al menorah, it was heavier in weight than the menorah that Charles Moshe made in the Midbar by Dina Zahav. They put it into a big furnace. 80 times. And still, it didn't lose anything from its weight. But Yos, now is that right? I mean, surely you put something of gold into a core, surely the weight will reduce. So he says, until it's not refined properly, and it's not proper Zabtar, then it will start reducing a bit by refining it. But Mindu Kaima Barare, when the time it's refined well, and now it's become proper gold, it won't lose anything more. Zahav Sago, Shoy Machsif, it would embarrass, Ba'ad, Kala Zahav Shasham, all the other gold. So Sago means when you put anything near it, it just embarrasses it. It says in Divrei Yomim, V'shivas alafim kikak kesef mezukak, this gold which was refined, the tuach kiras habatim, that they covered the walls of the Beis Mikdash with this silver. The Beis Mikdash, they covered it with gold. And in the previous pasuk, you're saying that the walls were covered in silver. So now we're saying it's a type of gold, and yet we're saying it's silver. So how do you understand this? Ella, he says the walls were covered in gold. But why is it called silver? Because it would embarrass all the other gold which was there. Zahav Mufaz, Rapatraki Achuha, the brother of Rabbi Teresa, B'Shem Rabbi Baba Bina, he says, Daima La'esh Hamud Setet, it's like a fire which is burning. We go for it in sulfur, we've got many colors. Rababin, the Shem, Mekoma Hinikra, because of its place, it's called Moifes. It's a Zahav Me'upas, it's a place. Zahav Mezukak is called that because they refine it in a special way. So they would cut the gold into kazais in pieces, size of kazais, and then grind it in a dough so that the birds will eat it. They give it to, like, what is this, the ostriches or some kind, whichever, that swallow this food without chewing, and the gold stays in their stomach. And then the stomach refines it. And then when it comes out of the stomach, it comes out of the animal, it's very refined. And some say they would hide this gold and hide it in the manure, 7 years. And then through that, again, it got refined. Zahav Shachut is called Nimshach Kashaba. It could flow like wax. Adrianus Hayla Mishkal Beitza Dukli Tarianus. He had a shield of Mishkal of an egg, of one egg of this stuff. Duklitanus, Decletian, wherever he was, Hayalai Mishkal Dina Gurudinion. Yeah, that's how much he had, the share of a Gurudinion coin. Zahav Paravayim, why is it called that? Rishim Ben Lakish, he said, Odom, it's red, Vadom El Adam Shapar, it's like the blood of a pa. The Yeshua, in some say, Zahav Shu'aisa Peres, it creates fruit. Like we've learned in the Mishnah, Midas, Geffen Shal Zahav, there was a golden trellis, as the Midas of Pischa Shalechel at the entrance of the Heichal, and it produced fruit. When he built the Beis Mikdash, he put all types of suras of fruit trees and some of gold. And when the fruit trees in the fields, when they produce fruit, these trees of gold should be in the Beis Mikdash would also produce fruit out of miracles. So it says Parach Tifrach v'Tagel Afgidas v'Ranein. Levana is a reference to the Beis Mikdash. When did the trees dry out? When Menashe put an image of Barizah in the Heichal, Yavshu, then the trees dried out. The Chassid says Ferach Levana and Umlau, and then it was cut off. The blossoms of Levanon were cut off. To be continued, Rabbi Say. Okay.